I'm delighted to be here with you, and thank you for your joy and your wisdom and everything that's come. Many of you have talked about the things that I'm going to speak about today, so it's nice to be able to wrap it up, and I know that we're all anxious to get to lunch, so I'll be fast. I don't think the timer's on, and if it is, holy hen, it's a little. There we go, thank you. Parents are frustrated, they're angry, they're upset, and they are devastated. They're heartbroken because their teens are doing strange and unusual things. The door slamming, the eye rolling, the frustration, and that belligerent behavior. And they have no idea what to do with it, and they don't know how to deal with their teens. It happens every day, but no wonder it happens. Teens' hormones are raging. Their brains aren't functioning like they need to because kids don't know how to deal with what's going on in their brains. They don't know what's going on. All they want to do is they want to fit in. They want to be accepted by their friends. They want to make sure that they're dressing the right way. They have stuff that's going on at school. They have all the pressures of home. They've got stuff that they just don't know how to deal with. Now, as adults, we can basically do most of those things. We can throw a whole bunch of balls up in the air and hope that we are able to juggle and manage them. Not so with teens. They haven't the foggiest idea how to deal with all that because there's so much going on for them. So let me take you on a little journey of a day of a life of a teen. So your family gets up late, and you know that that happens with all of us. Get up late, there's all kinds of frazzle stuff going on. As an adult, you can barely hold your shit together, so you're trying to do that, and then you're running down to their room and you're saying, come on, everybody, get up and do what you need to do. You're busy rushing into the kitchen to gather breakfast, to get lunches together, because you know all of those jobs belong to you. You're doing all of those things. Get up, come on, let's get moving. Walking into the kitchen, you're not wearing that, are you? Well, so you get the idea and the impression of what's happening before this kid is even out the door. So they grab their backpack, they grab their hoodie, they get their stuff together, and maybe they manage to get on the bus. And the bus is quiet and everybody is sitting in their seats. Says no one ever. They head to the back of the bus in their regular place, sitting there trying to get themselves together because they know full well that they have a day ahead of them that they're not sure what's going to happen, and the expectation of what happens in classrooms is always unpredictable. Take it from a teacher, been there, done that. They get on there sitting in the back seat, kids are blabbing off, they're doing all kinds of things, and across the bus comes this lunch kit that hits your kid on the side of the head. Well, you can well imagine what happens after that. They take that lunch kit and with their rude, crude, and socially unacceptable behavior, they throw that lunch kit back behind them and hope that somebody else can pick it up. As they're turning around again, they notice that the bus driver has looked at them in their rearview mirror, and knowing full well that now there's going to be a note that goes to the office. Kids get off the bus, they're into the hallways, and because of the nature of classrooms and kids rushing, they're being banged into or pushed or shoved or whatever. They're hearing teachers in the hallway, probably the vice principal, yelling at everybody saying, get to class. Now you get the impression about the yelling piece. It doesn't always happen, but that's how they're feeling about it. So they get to class and they walk in and they're worried about whether they have that permission slip signed that they were supposed to, and they're going to get in and the teacher's going to ask them about assignments, or they're going to have a test this week, you know, one of those surprise quiz things. I'm sure you've all been there. And look around and they see that the seating arrangement has been changed. And again, that's another thing that kids don't deal particularly well with. They don't deal well with transition that happens at them and to them rather than being part of having that change happen naturally. They get to sit down in a desk that's been reassigned for them, and they're sitting beside Bully Pants. This kid has been on them and quietly and subtly and sneakily saying things to your child that they just wish would stop. And it just goes on, and meanwhile, they sit down beside this kid today, and don't you know it, he or she's got something to say to them. Well, that's the end. I mean, that's the explosion part. And your child gets up and decks this kid. Naturally, the teacher swings around, sees you do, or sees the teen do their thing, and off to the office you go. Teen arrives in the office, explains to the principal as best as they can. And naturally, the principal's got this mind, well, you've been here before, or maybe you haven't been here before. So we have to figure out how we're going to treat you. Okay, that's not me, but I'm just telling you what the average principal does. I got up late this morning. My mother yelled at me. She told me I needed to change my clothes. I got on the bus. I got hit by a lunch kit. I was late for practice. The coach made me run extra laps, and I had to do push-ups. I get going down the hallway. I'm pushed and shoved. Somebody pulled my books. They all fell on the floor. The teacher was yelling. She wanted me to get stuff done. And then I sat beside Bully Pants, who he's in every class. He gets me all the time. People don't understand what I'm going through. And it's not even 9:30 in the morning. That kind of thing happens more and more often, and we don't have the foggiest idea that it's going on because kids don't feel safe to share. And if they do, they're not certain what their response is going to be. They're not sure what or who they speak to is going to be able to have their back. If you've been in a situation, so in this particular situation with this family, the parent gets a call. So the parent gets to work, gets a call from the school, has a conversation with the principal, being informed that their child is going to be suspended for 3 days for fighting. The parent goes on with their day, and stuff happens in their particular day. They are due to do a presentation with their colleague. The school calls, the colleague comes to the door, the parent hangs up the phone and instantly gives grief to the colleague who walks in the door. We've all been there, done that. Those are things that happen. The parent apologizes for their particular outburst because it wasn't about that person, it was about the situation that happened at home. Because that parent is now worried about what's going on with their kid. And depending on how they respond to the situation will have a direct impact on what happens with that teen when they get home. The colleague comes to the door and says to the parent, oh, that presentation we were supposed to do this afternoon has been moved up in an hour. We need to get it ready. So they get their stuff together, they begin the presentation, it's supposed to be a video conference, and the internet shuts down. I'm sure you're familiar with that too, right? But what they're able to do within minutes is to be able to have a telephone conference so that they can finish their presentation. Does that kid have the same kind of strategies and ideas and expectations or ability? Not so much if they don't have those skills, if they haven't been supported in any kind of way. The day goes on, the parent gets in the car, turns on the radio, and there's Pink singing, I've had a shitty day and you've had a shitty day. And so the parent laughs on the way home, relieved from getting rid of whatever has gone on in their life. Meanwhile, that teen is still holding on to everything that's going on. Everything that they've been through on that day, the day before, the week before. And they've also been part of listening to their parents, arguing with each other. Well, the parents have been arguing with each other because not one of them is able to deal with what's going on with that kid because they haven't taken the time to ask. Typically what will happen is the parent will say, okay, so what did you do this time? What's going on that you got yourself into trouble? Rather than asking a different kind of question and saying, what happened today? What went on? Tell me about what's going on. And that, in fact, is what happened with that particular parent. And I'm using you as the parent. So you come home and you say, you know what? Today wasn't our best day. It was frenzied this morning when we got up late because we all got up late. And stuff happened and I didn't have a chance to chat with you. We needed to be able to sit down after school and after work and talk about how could we rearrange what's going on in the morning? How could we do something different so that each of us is responsible and we can coordinate our activities and we can feel like we're part of something? And that we can we are contributors, so that there's a piece of acknowledgement in there. But that often doesn't happen. And kids are left to try and do what they do on their own. They find maybe a teacher or a coach or the custodian in the school who becomes their best friend to be able to share that. That's not what we need at this point in time. Yes, it's great to have those people, but the piece that's missing and the piece that's broken is the whole idea that there's an incredible chasm in between where parents are and where their kids are. I have often had conversations with kids saying, my parents don't get me, they don't understand me, all we do is yell and scream, and they don't value me. And in the meantime, I'm having similar kinds of conversations where parents say, I don't understand my kid. I don't know how to connect with them. I don't know how to speak with them. I don't believe they're even mine anymore. They've changed so much. They're saying the same thing. And here we have this big chasm in the middle. And that's the place that I want to step into to be able to help them bridge that gap. And you mentioned bridges before. That's the space where we need to be able to come together and have those conversations. And parents often don't have the questions, or they don't know the questions to ask. And someone mentioned it earlier today about if you ask the same question, you're going to get the same answer, right? And here's the typical kind of thing that happens with that. Parent comes in, asks the question, so how was your day? Fine, because these are my favorite 4-letter words. Fine. So what'd you do today? Nothing. What do you mean you did nothing? You were at school for 8 hours. Tell me there must have been something that you did. It was okay. But you notice the parent is excited at first to find out what's going on. Over here with the teen, it's a little bit of apathy going on, okay? Well, what do you mean you did nothing? There's the escalation of the parent. Over here, the teen pulls on their hoodie, in go the earbuds, out comes the cell phone, and they're out of there. The teen is disappointed and brokenhearted because the parent didn't ask a different question. The parent is over here trying to figure out what the question is that they should have asked. And so that's the space where we need to be able to bridge it together, to bring children and their families together, to have different kinds of conversations. And part of the challenge with that is that although parents think they are asking different things, they need some different skills and different perspectives. And don't get me wrong, this is not about judgment. I am not judging parents' skills. I'm just suggesting that there need to be other ways to be able to do things. Because the most frightening thing that I've heard recently, it's heartbreaking and devastating, is that the second leading cause of death is suicide for teens. That is, I don't have words to express it other than it frightens me almost to death, because we can't continue to have 8 and 9 and 10-year-olds committing suicide because they don't see any other way. We need to be able to provide them with that space, with those foundational skills, and with the ability to be able to live and thrive in the best way possible, because they are our future leaders, and we need to be able to help support them. And really, truly, when we talk about the whole idea, if it takes a village, the village needs to start with family. So I encourage you, I would bet that some of you have children who are older, but if you know of family members or if you know of friends who need the support of being able to deal with their teens, and it's not even just with teens, it's with younger children, and we were talking before that it's also in our workplaces and spaces, and most of you who have spoken ahead of me have mentioned that about workspaces. We need to be able to change those so that we can change our lives. So if you have, and check it out in the book, my website is there, as well as a space where parents can go to gather other resources, because I have 5 strategies for dedicated listening, and I also am I'm waiting in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I have a book coming out called Courageous Conversations, a guide to helping parents understand and connect with their teens, and I'm hopeful that I can be part of helping change people's lives. So thank you for listening. I appreciate being here.